Okay, let's dive in. You think about sequels, especially ones that come, like, decades later. What does it actually take for one to not just, meet the hype, but completely blow past it?
It's such a tricky thing, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
Hollywood history is just full of sequels that crashed and burned, trying to recapture that original spark.
Right, so many.
But then, every now and then, you get something like Top Gun, Maverick,
Yeah.
a film that didn't just buck the trend. It totally reset the whole conversation about what a legacy sequel could even achieve.
Exactly. And that's what we're exploring today. Welcome to the Deep Dive. We sift through stacks of info articles, interviews, production notes, all of it, and pull out the key insights for you.
Giving you the real inside track.
That's the idea. So today, we are going deep on the phenomenon that is Top Gun, Maverick. Our mission really is to unpack how this film went from this decades-long, maybe, through some really groundbreaking production, to becoming this massive global hit. We want to get into the why it clicked so hard with people everywhere.
And you're right. It defied gravity right from the start, didn't it? Not just one of the biggest films of 2022, which, remember, was still a weird time for cinemas.
Yeah, definitely.
But it became Tom Cruise's highest-grossing film ever. I mean, think about that. Decades into his career, this is the biggest one. A sequel to a movie from '86.
It's wild. And the praise was just huge. Critics, audiences, pretty much everyone saying it was even better than the original Top Gun.
Which is saying something, given how iconic that film is.
Well,
So yeah, we're going to break down the how and the why behind it all. What made this particular mission such a success?
all right, let's start with the core, the return of Maverick. So the film itself, Top Gun Maverick, came out May 27, 2022. PG-13, runtime's about 2 hours, 10, maybe 2 hours, 11 minutes. You see slightly different numbers.
Yeah, it depends on the version, I think.
Directed by Joseph Kosinski, who's got that real visual style. And the writers, Aaron Kruger, Eric Warren Singer, Christopher McQuarrie sharing screenplay credit with Peter Craig and Justin Marks on this story. So, a lot of cooks in the kitchen, but clearly it worked.
It really did. And the basic premise, it's simple but effective. It's 30-plus years later. Pete Maverick, Mitchell, still a captain, hasn't climbed the ladder, mostly because he keeps, being Maverick.
He's allergic to promotions.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And suddenly he's called back to Top Gun, the Navy's elite fighter school. But, plot twist, he's not a student this time. He's the instructor.
Right. And his job, get this new generation of super competitive, top-of-their-class pilots ready for this incredibly dangerous, specialized mission, something unlike anything anyone's flown before. Sounds almost impossible, frankly.
Exactly. And the genius of it, I think, isn't just the mission plot or even the flying, which is, let's be honest, spectacular.
Not unbelievable.
It's that it gets really personal for Maverick. He's got to face his past, his own, ghosts, and that comes through mainly in his relationship with Lieutenant Bradley Bradshaw, calls on Rooster.
Rooster, yeah. Goose's son. For anyone who remembers the first movie, Nick Guth Bradshaw was Maverick's RIO, his best friend who died in that training accident.
Right. And that connection, that history between Maverick and Rooster, this mentor figure, and the kid who carries all this baggage from the past, that's the heart of the film. It gives it real emotional stakes beyond just, jets blowing things up.
Absolutely. You feel that weight. So Rooster, he's an FA-18 pilot himself now, and there's this massive unresolved tension with Maverick. He's angry, right? Like, really angry.
Oh, yeah, deeply resentful. Partly because Maverick blocked his application to the Naval Academy years ago, slowed down his whole career.
Which seems like a jerk move on the surface.
Totally. And worse, Rooster straight up blames Maverick for Goose's death, even though it was ruled an accident. But here's the layer Rooster doesn't know, not at first.
The hidden reason.
Exactly. Maverick made a promise to Rooster's mom, Carol, when she was dying. He promised her Rooster wouldn't become a pilot, wouldn't follow his dad into that danger.
Okay. So Maverick was trying to protect him, but in this really difficult way.
Right. Carrying that burden, that secret promise. It just adds so much complexity to their whole dynamic. It makes their eventual, reconciliation feel really earned. And Miles Teller playing Rooster.
Yeah.
Just fantastic. He apparently beat out guys like Nicholas Hoult and Glenn Powell for that role.
Yeah, Teller really nailed that mix of anger and vulnerability. Okay, so besides Rooster, there's Penny Benjamin.
Penny. Jennifer Connelly.
Yeah.
Who, interestingly, was just a name mentioned in the first film, right? The Admiral's daughter, Maverick, got in trouble over.
That's her. And here, she's a real character, a single mom, runs the local bar the pilots hang out at. She feels very grounded.
Totally. And her rekindled romance with Maverick, it feels, mature, real. Gives Maverick an anchor outside the high-stakes Navy world. Shows a different side of him.
It really does. And then you can't talk about Maverick without talking about Iceman.
Oh, absolutely. Admiral Tom Kazansky, Val Kilmer returning. That was power.
So powerful. Iceman, Maverick's big rival in the first film. He's climbed the ranks, commander of the U.S. Pacific Fleet now. And we learn he's basically been Maverick's guardian angel all these years.
Pulling strings, yeah.
Yeah.
Keeping Maverick from getting kicked out despite all the insubordination.
Frequent insubordination.
Right. Their friendship is this deep, unspoken thing. And Iceman's role in this film is crucial. He gives Maverick that key piece of advice. It's time to let go. Yeah. Telling him to mentor Rooster, finally deal with the past. They're seen together.
Wow. Just incredible. And knowing about Val Kilmer's own health battle, his fight with throat cancer, it makes his performance even more poignant. They use technology, apparently, to help clarify his actual voice, not replace it with AI, which I think shows real respect.
Definitely. Preserve the authenticity. And the reports that this was his final film role before he passed away in 2025 just adds another layer of emotion to watching him as Iceman one last time.
Such a moving part of the film. Okay, so we have these legacy characters, but there's also the new blood, right? The Top Gun grads Maverick has to train.
Yeah, the new guard. You've got Lieutenant Jake Hangman Saracen, played by Glenn Powell. He's sort of the new Maverick, maybe. Cocky, skilled, definitely Rooster's rival.
Oh, yeah, you see that friction immediately.
And there's Lieutenant Natasha Phoenix Trace, Monica Barbaro, who's sharp, capable, and her WSO, Weapons Systems Officer, Lieutenant Robert Bob Floyd, played by Lewis Pullman. Kind of the quiet, maybe slightly awkward, but brilliant one.
Bob. Yeah, great character.
And you also have others like Payback, played by Jay Ellis, and his WSO fanboy, Danny Ramirez. It's a whole new squadron of elite pilots.
And this dynamic, the way Maverick interacts with them, it really plays into that competition film idea Tom Cruise wanted. He doesn't just walk in and command respect.
No way. They're skeptical. He's this old guy, a relic in their eyes. He has to earn it. In the sky, through dogfights, through pushing them in training.
Which is so satisfying to watch. Seeing him outfly them, outthink them, especially Hangman, who's just full of swagger.
And apparently, Glenn Powell's role as Hangman got bigger after his auditions really impressed them. Tom Cruise actually worked with him to make Hangman less of a, well, Powell called the initial idea a dick garnish, or Navy Draco Malfoy.
Okay.
Cruise helped make him more rounded, more relatable somehow, even as the antagonist figure within the group.
Yeah.
It shows that level of detail they went into, even for supporting roles.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you have the contrast with Rear Admiral Kane, Ed Harris, Hammer Kane, the drone ranger.
Right. He represents the brass, the push towards unmanned flight. Once Maverick, grounded, sees pilots like him as dinosaurs, sets up that immediate conflict, old school versus new tech. Man versus machine, almost.
Okay, so we've got the story, the characters, the emotional core, but Maverick is defined by its action. How did they actually do it? How did they make those flying scenes look so incredibly real? Because getting this film made, the production itself sounds like its own impossible mission.
Oh, it really was. A marathon, not a sprint. And yeah, let's talk about how this thing even got off the ground, because it took decades. Ironically, back in 1990, Cruise himself said a sequel would be irresponsible. Thought the first one glorified war too much.
Funny how things change.
Right. Fast forward to 2010, Paramount starts seriously developing it. They reach out to Jerry Bruckheimer, the original producer, and Tony Scott, the original director. Scott was interested, but he wanted something new, focusing on the end of dogfighting, the rise of drones, themes that actually, echo in the final film.
But then the tragedy with Tony Scott in 2012, his death put everything on hold.
Yeah, a huge blow. The film is dedicated to him right there at the end. But Bruckheimer, he stayed committed. And crucially, Cruise and Kilmer were still interested. That kept the possibility alive, even through years where nothing seemed to be happening.
And Cruise wasn't just interested. He became the driving force, didn't he, as a producer?
Absolutely. He announced the title in 2017 Top Gun. Maverick. No number. He was very clear. It's a competition film, like the first, but also a progression for Maverick about the character's journey.
And he brought in Kaczynski to direct.
Yeah, Joseph Kaczynski. They'd done Oblivion together. Apparently, Kaczynski pitched Cruise a vision that really balanced the character story with a kind of practical, real-deal aerial action Cruise was demanding. That sealed the deal.
The script itself went through a few hands. McQuarrie, Singer, Kruger, Craig, Marks.
Right. Christopher McQuarrie, who's Cruise's go-to guy these days, even came in for rewrites during filming. And his approach was interesting.
Yeah.
He said he kind of ignored parts of the first movie, wanted this one to stand completely on its own, not just be a rehash or constant reference.
You make it accessible even if you hadn't seen the original in 30 years.
Exactly. And tell a solid story in its own right, which I think we can agree they definitely did.
Yeah. There was also that whole situation with China, right? Tencent Pictures was involved initially.
Yeah, they were an early investor. But they pulled out in late 2019. The reports were about concerns over the film being too pro-U.S. military, especially after those Taiwanese and Japanese flags reappeared on Maverick's jacket.
Ah, the jacket controversy.
Right. Usually studios bend over backwards for the Chinese market, but Tencent backing out actually freed Paramount up. They didn't have to worry about censorship or changing things for a Chinese release. It let them make the film they wanted to make for a global audience. Kind of ironic, really.
Okay, let's get to the really mind-blowing part. The practical effects, the flying. This wasn't CGI jets against a green screen.
Not a chance. Tom Cruise wouldn't have it. He designed this intense 3-month boot camp for the actors. Get this. It was all about getting them ready for insane G-forces, the kind pilots actually experience, and aerobatics.
So they weren't just pretending in a simulator.
Oh, no. They started in the simply planes, like the Extra 300L, gradually building up G-tolerance. They had to do real Navy training, too, like underwater escape drills. He wanted them to feel it.
Wow. And it wasn't just about handling the physical side, was it?
No. He made them learn about cinematography, lighting, editing, because they had to operate the cameras inside the cockpits themselves while flying. They were basically directing their own scenes up there.
That's incredible. Just operating a camera is hard enough on the ground.
Right. Monica Barbaro, Phoenix, talked about how much she respected the real female pilots she worked with and how the training gave her insight into the challenges in that field. It was about authenticity through and through.
And real planes mean real costs. So they actually paid the Navy for the FA-18s.
Oh, yeah. Big time. The figure floating around is something like $11,374 per hour per plane for the FA-18 Super Hornets and the Navy pilots flying them.
$11,000 an hour? That's astronomical.
It is. But that's the price of putting IMAX-certified Sony Venice 6K cameras inside the cockpits. They rigged up multiple cameras, like 4 on the actors, 2 facing out, plus more on the outside.
How did they even manage that? The G-forces, the vibration?
It took over a year, working super closely with Navy engineers at Neve Air. They had to design and test custom camera rigs that could handle the speed and pressure safely. The amount of footage they shot is just staggering, over 800 hours of aerial footage. Apparently more than the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy combined.
That is insane, just the sheer volume of it.
And for the shots tracking the jets from outside, they used other jets, like modified L-39s and business jets, even helicopters with stabilized cameras to keep up.
So, incredible effort on the F-18s. What about the other planes, that hypersonic jet at the start, the Dark Star?
Oh, the Dark Star. So cool. That wasn't just dreamed up. They actually worked with engineers from Lockheed Martin's Skunk Works, the legends who build cutting-edge secret aircraft.
Seriously, Skunk Works?
Yep. They designed it with them and then built a full-scale physical mock-up that they filmed out at China Lake. Made it feel totally real, even though it's fictional.
And the F-14 Tomcat, Maverick's old ride.
The Tomcat. Yeah, the Navy decommissioned those ages ago, even removed the engines. But they managed to get one, an F-14A from the San Diego Air and Space Museum.
So they filmed the actual plane on the ground, maybe?
Exactly. But the flying scenes for the F-14 and also for the enemy Su-57 fighters, that was CGI. Very, very good CGI, blended seamlessly. So they used practical where they could, like with the F-18s, but digital when they had to, like for the Tomcat in flight, or making one F-18 look like a whole squadron. Smart mix.
And that crazy low-pass Maverick does by the control tower.
Oh, yeah, buzzing Ed Harris. That was real. A Blue Angels pilot flew an F-18 less than 50 feet off the ground at something like 450 knots over 500 miles per hour.
No way.
Yes way. Apparently, it was so low and fast, it literally ripped roofing material off a nearby guard shack.
Someone probably got chewed out for that, but what a shot.
Totally worth it for the movie. And even the bar, the hard deck. They built that for real, on the beach, at Naval Air Station North Island, based on a real pilot's hangout. That commitment to tangible reality is everywhere.
And the sound. You feel it as much as hear it.
Skywalker Sound. They worked with GE Aviation, the people who make jet engines, to get authentic F-A-18 sounds, not just stock noises. Then mixed it in, Dolby Atmos, IMAX. It puts you right there. The roar is just immense.
Okay, so the production was Herculean. Let's talk impact. Section 3. Box office, reception, legacy. This thing wasn't just a hit, it was a monster.
A juggernaut is the word. It pulled in, what was the final number? Just under $1.5 billion worldwide. $1.496 billion.
Wow. Second biggest film of 2022, only behind the Avatar sequel, and, as you said, Tom Cruise's biggest movie ever.
Bigger than any Mission Impossible, bigger than anything else he's ever done.
Domestically, in the US and Canada, it was #1 for 2022. That Memorial Day opening was huge, like $160 million.
A record at the time, right?
Yep. The Lilo and Stitch apparently beat it in 2025. But maybe even more impressive was how well it held on. The second weekend drop is tiny, like 29%. Smallest ever for a film opening over $100 million. Better than Shrek 2. That shows incredible word of mouth. People weren't just going opening weekend, they were telling friends, going back again.
Exactly. It had legs, as they say. Stayed in the top 5 for 10 weeks straight. People just loved it.
Yeah.
And internationally, Cruise's biggest opening in over 30 countries. UK, France, Australia, Japan, Germany. Massive numbers everywhere. Truly a global phenomenon.
And the critics felt the same way.
Overwhelmingly positive, like 96% on Rotten Tomatoes, an A+ cinema score from audiences. Those are stellar numbers.
Yeah, you rarely see that kind of consensus.
Critics called it exhilarating, thrilling, a masterclass. Many flat out said it was better than the original. Quentin Tarantino loved it, called it a true cinematic spectacle.
For Tarantino, high praise indeed.
And then there's Spielberg. Steven Spielberg saying it saved the entire theatrical industry.
That's a statement, a huge statement. But you can see why he'd say it, coming after the pandemic lull. It really felt like movies were back.
It did. Interesting side note about Ridley Scott, Tony Scott's brother. Bruckheimer said Ridley praised it, but another director later suggested Ridley had more mixed feelings, maybe preferred the original style.
Huh. Well, filmmaking is subjective, even for legendary directors, I guess.
True. But awards-wise, it did great. 6 Oscar nominations, including Best Picture, which is huge for an action sequel. It won for Best Sound, totally deserved. AFI, Top 10 Film of the Year. Lots of recognition.
And the marketing went wide, too, didn't it? Toys, video games.
Oh, yeah. Matchbox cars, Rovell models, tie-ins with Ace Combat, Microsoft Flight Simulator, even some weird anime collaboration in Japan, Uma Musume, pretty derby. Its reach was broad.
And all this success came after they stuck to their guns about not putting it on streaming right away.
That was huge. Paramount apparently got massive offers from streaming services, Apple TV Plus included, but Cruise insisted. Theatrical release first. Big screen experience only, initially.
And boy, did that pay off.
Massively. It really made the case for the power of theatrical right when people were questioning it.
There was also that funny comment from one of the actors, Manny Jacinto, about his lines being cut.
Huh. Yeah, he played Fritz. He joked, Tom Cruise is writing stories for Tom Cruise. Which, probably has some truth to it. It highlights how central Cruise's vision was to the whole project.
For sure. Now, the film obviously had Navy support. Did that stir up any controversy?
There was some talk, yeah. The Department of Defense and the Navy definitely cooperated, providing access and aiming for a positive portrayal, which helps recruitment. So some critics label it as, bordering on propaganda.
The age-old critique of military-supported films?
Right. But from a filmmaking perspective, that access is what allowed those incredible practical flying shots. It's a trade-off, I suppose.
And there was a lawsuit about the original article.
Yeah. The heirs of Ehud Yoneh, who wrote the magazine piece that inspired the first Top Gun, sued Paramount for copyright infringement over the sequel. But that suit was dismissed in April 2024. So legally, it's clear now.
Okay, so what's next? Is Maverick flying again?
It's like it. Top Gun 3 is officially in development. Miles Teller said he's talked to Cruise about it. And just recently, in May 2025, they confirmed Christopher McQuarrie is writing it.
McQuarrie backwriting. That sounds promising.
Definitely suggests they want to maintain that quality and tone. So, yeah, the story continues.
Okay, so wrapping this all up. Our deep dive really shows Top Gun. Maverick wasn't just, another sequel. It was this huge achievement in practical filmmaking, great character work, just a genuinely thrilling, emotional ride that somehow clicked with almost everyone.
Totally. It showed that if you have the vision, the talent, the commitment, and let's be honest, the budget and star power, you can still create something truly special for the big screen, even working with a 36-year-old property.
It really set a benchmark for how to do a legacy sequel, right? Honor the past, but tell a new story, and use technology, practical technology, to create something audiences haven't seen before.
Absolutely. It proved that spectacle and substance can coexist, and that the human element, the pilot in the cockpit, still matters in the age of drones and CGI.
So as you think about this film, maybe consider this. What lessons does Maverick really offer for the future of blockbusters? How do you strike that perfect balance between nostalgia and innovation, between honoring what came before and pushing storytelling forward? It's a tough question, but Maverick gave us one hell of an answer, something to chew on until next time.